For ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tinio, there are grounds for a possible impeachment complaint against the President and the Vice President. We discussed this with him tonight. Thank you for joining us again, Congressman Tinio.
Hi, good evening, Ces, Pauline, and Sean. Thank you for having me here.
Let's zero in first on the possible impeachment complaint against the President. Are you supporting this move?
Well, what we have said is that there are grounds to impeach the President. And of course, this has to do with the unprecedented, the massive flood control corruption issue, because we're talking about systematic plunder of the DPWH budget under the Marcos Jr. administration, the first 3 years of the Marcos Jr. administration. And of course, the President is ultimately responsible for that. But more than that, the President has direct responsibility, direct approval over the unprogrammed appropriations. And as we know, it has been revealed that there was massive abuse as well of unprogrammed appropriations where thousands, literally thousands of additional flood control projects that have also been connected to kickbacks were funded through unprogrammed appropriations. So these have to be directly approved by the President according to law. Plus, we also have allegations from key players, including Yusek Bernardo and Zaldico, that they made insertions in behalf of the President and paid kickbacks for the President in connection with this. So these are definitely grounds for impeachment.
Have you been talking to the proponents of this complaint? Have you been approached?
Yes, we have. So this is why I am able to mention such grounds, for example. So there are discussions.
So to clarify Ces's question, there is another group because they would need, of course, the support of someone from the lower house, and you guys are willing to support whoever the filers are with these grounds that you just stated, just to be clear.
Well, we are in communication with some groups in civil society, but not necessarily all that may be interested in filing.
What do you mean? There are several groups?
Well, for example, it's been reported in the news that according to Representative Erice, he was approached by certain individuals. They're associated with the supporters of the Vice President. So we're not in contact with that group, for example. That's what I meant.
So there, whose group are you in contact with? Are you at liberty to disclose?
Well, more or less, they come from the groups that participated in the the September 21 and September 30 rallies at Luneta. No, some of them are from those who mobilized at the time.
But Congressman, for you, is command responsibility a strong basis for betrayal of public trust? And taking a look at the composition right now of the House of Representatives, would you say lulusot talaga itong impeachment against President Marcos? Well,
command responsibility is certainly it's important because, as I said, the ultimate safeguard against massive, and we're not just talking about retail level corruption, but this was a systematic plunder of the DPWH budget for 3 years. So the President has the power, not one, to veto, then two, the power to stop spending. no? Control over the release of funds. Okay, so that's one. But we're not just talking now about command responsibility here. I mentioned there's direct approval over unprogrammed appropriations. So command responsibility over the whole budget, then direct responsibility for unprogrammed appropriations. And then lastly, allegations coming from key players, including the star whistleblower Yusek Bernardo, no, who says that he prepared 51 billion worth of insertions for the president and delivered 8 billion pesos in kickbacks for the president. Yusek Bernardo supposedly said this to Senator Lacson, who shared it on record in Senate while Senate was in Senate plenary. Okay, and Yusek, if you don't believe Zaldico, kasi he also said something similar. If you don't believe Zaldico, then you have to listen to Yusek Bernardo, because his other testimony is relied upon by the administration and by the ombudsman to charge other officials. So why would there now be a double standard where, well, we'll believe some of what Yusek Bernardo says when it comes to other officials, but what he says about the president, we'll just disregard. Hindi naman pwede yun, di ba?
Pero do you have the numbers nga to follow up on Paui's question earlier? Lulusot ba to?
Well, lulusot ba to? Well, obviously, this would be an uphill battle in the House given the support that the president still has in the House. No, as far as we know, the majority with the presidential son, as the majority leader, no less. As far as we know, they support the president, and as we know, impeachment is ultimately a political process, a numbers game. So we're not saying this is going to be a walk in the park. However, if the grounds are compelling, then it will become more difficult to simply dismiss any impeachment complaint.
What is the inclination of the minority? Because as you said, it seems like a lot of groups are mulling over an impeachment against or filing impeachment against BBM. But like you said, parang pwede namang umusad na lang yung kaso. You mentioned Yusek Bernardo. If you're gonna wait for his testimony to play out in court, why not just wait for it instead of take a gander and support an impeachment claim when you, like you said, the majority leader is none other than his son, Sandro Marcos?
Well, if we're talking about involvement of no less than the president in kickbacks, insertions and kickbacks, then, as you know, the president is immune from suit. So no suit will prosper while the president is in office. So the only means to hold a sitting president accountable is through impeachment.
How about an impeachment complaint against VP Sara? Is the ACT Teachers Party List also supporting one should February, the deadline, the one-year bar expires?
Well, definitely, because in the previous Congress, ACT Teachers, my predecessor, Congresswoman Franz Castro, was one of the endorsers of that complaint. I was a complainant. At the time, I was not yet in Congress. So definitely, we will support the impeachment of the impeachment trial of the vice president. Right now, we are one of the petitioners asking for the Supreme Court to reconsider its decision that caused the archiving of the Senate of the trial at the Senate. So we were still hoping, and we urge the Supreme Court to resolve this as soon as possible so that the trial may resume. But if that doesn't happen, then the option is to file another impeachment complaint after February 6 when the one-year bar supposedly expires.
And is that ready? Is it ready once the deadline passes?
It's ready. I mean, because essentially the issue remains. The vice president has never been able to sufficiently address the issue of what happened, not just to the 125 million spent in 11 days in 2022, but to 612.5 million. This is not a joke. This amount of confidential funds that have not been explained. And in our impeachment complaint, there's strong evidence that this was in fact used in violation, or in other words, there's corruption in the use of the 612.5 million in confidential funds. So yes, the complaint is ready, and there's more information that has emerged that will further strengthen it. I'm talking about Madriaga affidavit.
All right, so once session resumes, uulan ng impeachment complaints just sa House of Representatives. Is that an accurate statement to make?
Maybe, but that's probably accurate. But also, di lang naman yun ang gagawin ng Kongreso. So there are also important bills that Congress has to address and that we will be pushing for. No? So including the bill on national minimum wage, which already is approved at the committee level, the anti-dynasty law, the reform of the party list system, among others.
All right, we thank you for talking to us once again. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tinio.